Hey, let me have a wheezy check-in in my semi-smoky backyard. I guess this isn't the greatest place to be recording, but, well, I don't really have anywhere else to record at this time of night. And besides that, I biked home. Bad me. It's bad me because we're in the midst of smoking. Not so. Washington State is in the midst of smoking, and the smoke is coming up here, and I really feel sorry for those people. But I also am slightly wheezy from biking home in it, which was not a good thing to do, but I did it. So let's go on with the. This isn't a dark episode. This is me talking about Mrs. Mcknz, which I'm really going to check in very quickly with two chapters today. I was mostly focused on Shakespeare, so let's talk about these two chapters of Mrs. Mcknz, which is the first chapter. Chapter 19 is how two of Mrs. Mckenz's um, lovers reacted. Basically, how they react to the news that she does not have the money. She does. They thought she did. She's inherited this money, but she's found out in these earlier chapters that oops, the lawyers way back in the day when they were actually doling out the money to her older brother shouldn't have, apparently. At least that's the theory at the moment. It's still slightly up in the air what's going on. So what we get first we get from Mr. And actually they both kind of surprise me. Well, one of them less so than the other. Um, Mr. Um, Mr. Rubb, Samuel Rubb Jr., actually says, no, I want to stick with you when he hears the news. I want to stick with you, but we're going to fight for the money. We're going to fight. We're going to fight it out. And won't you be my wife and we'll fight it out together? And she's like, no, no, we won't. He tries to kind of pull her into his arms. She's like, no, and pulls herself away. She does this much more gently than I give it credit for, but it's like no. And he kind of and after about 20 minutes of trying to persuade her, he's like, okay, fine, whatever, and does leave. And I guess we'll see if we see him again or not. But it's like he wants her, but he still wants the money, and you kind of wonder if the money didn't come through, whether he would still come through. I mean, I do find I really like Miss Mcknz, so maybe that is the case. But I also feel protective of Miss Mcknz, so there's that. And then there is Mr. McGuire, Mackenzie, McGuire, Mr. McGuire, which I don't believe he knows yet, but he's actually just this is strictly letters at the moment, and he's hitting her up for a loan. Basically, he wants to hit her up for a loan to kind of set himself up as as the evangelical priest in Little Bath, and she basically writes back to him with like, no, and I'm also don't have any money, so buzz off. He comes off a little less good in these sections. And then that leaves the third, which is John Ball, and we get a lot of stuff with Lady Ball, his grandmother, who really does put the screws to her, and finally she does find out that, oh, you don't have any money. It's like, well, you could become a lady, a lady. You're very polite and you're good natured. You could become a lady maid, a lady's companion. And she's like, Lady Ball, and she really kind of gets some grit in there. It's like, there is no way in hell I would ever do that kind of a job where you would basically be beholden to some woman to be able to sit in her room. It's like, no way would I ever do that. And she's like, and she actually kind of, the old bird actually has a little bit of respect for her with that. Even though she's in her triumph and is actually kind of probably being a bit of condescending, she's like, oh, it's like, oh, there's a little bit of fear there. She's finding respect for her. And at this point, and she's saying like, oh, well, John and I, John and your my husband is like, well, we should do something. It's like, well, he hasn't really said anything to me about that. He's like, he's actually the only one who hasn't kind of put forward a plan or something. And indeed, he's kind of expressed how this is really pretty a shock to him, because not getting that money has really changed his life a lot of ways, and where he's at and kind of how he's kind of had to scrape through. And finding out about it now, and that basically, Tom Mackenzie basically kind of pilfered it all away, basically allowed Rub to kind of to cheat him out of the money. That's basically what it seems to have come down to. It's probably about £10,000 that I'm just never ever going to see again. That's not even counting like this loan that's also gone to Rub, which I'm not going to take away from you. But at the end of this chapter, he proposes to her. He says, like, will you be my wife? I love you. I actually do love you. And, I've got to see you through all this kind of tough stuff. And, you're really awesome. And I want to be with you, kind of that thing. And she's like, yes, I do. He says, okay, well, we're going to go and talk to my parents about it. There's going to be my grandparents. There's going to be some hard words, accept that, but you'll be firm. Yes. And I'll be firm and you'll be firm, and we'll do this. So it's like, it's kind of weird for a Trollope novel. Again, for a Trollope novel, we're only a third of the way through, 20 chapters into a 30 chapter book. And we've like, oh, they're going to get together. But now we're going to have, Trollope is going to carefully tie up and fix up all the various lovers and Mrs. Tom and her kids and all that, I'm sure, is going to happen next, and we're going to get kind of tie up all that. And yeah, we'll have to see all the evangelicals, all that kind of stuff, see how that goes. But yeah, it's typical Trollope. It's like the love bit happens 2/3 of the way through, and then we have another third left to go. Okay, Trollope, you do your magic, because you always do, and it's always enjoyable. I really enjoy myself, and I'm definitely enjoying this Trollope novel. Okay, I am really wheezing now. I think I am probably covered where the air is not really great around here. So I'm going to go upstairs and cough up a bit of burned tree out of my lungs. All right, more videos later.